Hi, my name is David Sloan, and welcome back to the Cameraman Lectures. This is Lecture 6, addressing Cameraman episodes 17 through 21. In these 5 episodes, At the Mountain of Madness, Close Encounter, Dinner and a Recap, Morning and Warning, and lectures on what is absolutely not time travel, Milo, Nancy, and Baker find out that there is a lot more going on at Dura Mountain than any of them had thought previously. Hipswitch, aka Serum, now owns the former asylum. Talia is running the operations, and the main focus of their operations is none other than former escapee Omar Al-Ashik, who is rebuilding the cameraman's machine in his former cell, which is called a corridor. The cameraman is not only not dead, but he was apparently setting up a secret facility that he purchased right under the nose of the military. Then that's a bold move. Whether or not it was the right move remains to be seen, and you can be the judge of that. In these episodes, we encounter the peculiar ideas and language of Omar Al-Ashik, who believes that he is an alien trapped on Earth with humans who he hates. He has invented a language called Denobulan, which comes from his imagined planet near the real star Denobula, which is a star at the hip of the constellation Leo, and is incidentally 15 times brighter than the sun. The language of Omer is crucial to the story because it isn't just a made-up language for his hallucination. It's a necessary device for him to be able to express his ingenious and unprecedented understanding of the fabric of the universe. He had to invent new words to describe concepts that mankind has not yet conceived of. And furthermore, some of his words capture important cameraman themes for which there are not good words that I know of. So to make them, he combined aspects of English, Arabic, and German with a little sci-fi flavor sprinkled in. So in this lecture, I want to review a few of Omer's Denobulan words that are really important. First, Entik. That's Omer's derogatory name for all humans. It's essentially the N-word for our species. Entik Gula refers to our human ideas about the universe, which Omer finds ridiculous. Eindula is the fabric of the universe, similar to the concept of what we would call space-time. The Palacrum is the machine that Omer is building, and it's the machine that the cameraman used to look back in time and to record images and sound. The Shaleki is the window that the Palacrum sees through, and that gives the cameraman videos its electric purple border. It's important to note that, as Omer explains, when one uses a Palacrum to look back to the distant past, the Shaleki, or the window, the membrane between the present and the past, is thick and requires a lot of energy to thin compared to looking what happens when you look to the very near past, where the Shaleki is a lot thinner. As you come closer to the present, the Shaleki thins and thins and thins to the point where if the Palacrum is used to look into the present, the Shaleki effectively goes to zero, which means that matter can pass through the Palacrum from point A to point B and effectively becomes a portal. The importance of that is going to be augmented as the plot progresses. And Omer's going to explain a lot more about this technology as we go. The last word that we'll talk about is the word Gripcha, which is one of the most important ones in the story, because beyond being just part of the physics that Omer employs to account for sources of gravity, Gripcha is also an important theme in the story. Darius Karmazov picked up on Omer's word and made it his own very early on, and used it to apply to anything that tends to pull human behavior. So cravings, addictions, needs, hopes, dreams, these are all gripsas that act like sources of gravity for our thoughts and our actions. We feel the pull of gripsha and accelerate towards it. Dura Mountain itself was originally conceived as a gripsha for its inmates. The idea being that if any of them were to ever escape, there would be something of theirs at Dura Mountain that would pull them back. Or they'd be motivated not to escape at all. That, of course, went out the window when Karamazov himself escaped. Only something about that seems to have worked because Omer is back now, right back where he was. Our other characters, Talia, Milo, Nancy Baker, all have their own gripsas, which include the pull of the cameraman's mystery and power. So as we go, we'll point out each character's individual gripsha and how it affects their behavior. And you can try and pick up their gripsas as you read. There will be more Denobulan words used throughout the story that are very important. And I do intend to post a glossary to my website once the episodes are far enough along that I can do that. Now, in case Omer's description wasn't clear about how the Palindrome works, and I doubt it would be, I'm going to walk through his attempt at a visual aid using this piece of tubing instead of a noodle, which is what he used. And by the way, I had a lot of fun writing Omer's character and his way of speaking and playing with this sci-fi rules trope of having one character clearly and succinctly explain an extremely advanced technological concept for the reader's benefit. This happens in every superhero and space story. Oh, see, space-time is just like a piece of paper and all of that. And I love the idea, which I think is a realistic idea, of someone just having no clue how to teach and having an individual like Milo trying to decipher what they're trying to say on top of having to deal with Omer's disdain for humanity. I really enjoyed writing that. I thought it was a lot of fun. Anyway, so the visual aid Omer used was to think of the universe like a flexible tube full of running liquid, running in one direction. And he used the idea of Klabsy wine, but the liquid doesn't matter. At the end of the tube is the future, and if you move backward in time, you're going towards the past. Now, imagine that at this point you had a machine, which is the Palindrome, and the Palindrome is able to use energy to bend back and connect with another part of the tube. Now, the further up the tube it goes, the less energy is required to cause that bending. The farther back it goes, the more energy is required. The interface between this end of the tube and here is the Shalecki. Now, one of the really important points is that the liquid in the tube has pressure. Or in other words, the arrow of time is like a pressure or a force. And therefore, if this membrane were to rupture, if the Shalecki were to rupture, especially if it was back far in time, then time would essentially rush through, very much like a submarine window cracking under deep water and all that water rushing into the submarine. And therefore, time itself is extremely dangerous, and the Palindrome itself doesn't allow for the Shalecki to break even at very minimal distances to the past. Only when it's in the present can things pass through. That's really, really important. And the theme of time being extremely dangerous and having pressure is also a theme of the story. Now, you may be wondering, does this have anything to do with real-world physics? And the answer is, interestingly, no, not really. But that's kind of the point. In order for this story to work, we needed to have laws of physics that were a bit beyond what our current physics currently describes about the universe. And in order for us to really understand how the Palindrome works in this story, we have to understand it from Omer's point of view first. because Omer is the one who originally conceptualized the physics that undergirds the Palacrum's technology. And the main idea that Omer is hit on is a conception of the universe that represents in the story the next great leap in mankind's understanding of the universe, the next Einsteinian revolution. Remember, before Einstein started publishing stuff, terms like relativity and space-time and wormholes weren't in our lexicon at all, at least not the way that we use them now. And no one was visualizing what Einstein was visualizing about space-time bending and things being relative. It took just one brain in our history to open us up to the important truths of how the universe really works. And in this story, Omer, even though he's mentally ill and antagonistic, is the next big brain. And what he's accomplishing is really, really critical, not just for the purpose of the story, but for the purpose of everyone in the world that the cameraman exists in. Now, in these episodes, we're getting really close to the conclusion of the season now, and everything that's been happening at Dura Mountain is all going to come crashing to a great climax with more than a few surprises for you. So, keep reading. You never know what you're going to see.